You are now listening to Effin Radio.
Things get better than this?
I know. Just when
That's
we thought
what I'm saying.
Couldn't get any better.
It's crazy.
And welcome to F&B Radio. My name is Lindsay Collins, and I am your host. On the show today, I have Nathan motherfucking Mcclements. It's been a year in the making, Nathan. Almost a year.
Of us podcasting.
Well, saying we were going to podcast.
Sure.
Because I met you at Jeremy's
show.
Talk
is cheap.
Talk is, I mean,
depends we're both cheap.
Yeah, you and I both, I think, we say a lot of stuff, and then we have to later. What's that saying? You write a lot of checks that your ass can't cash. I'm known for shit like that.
In the body banking.
The body banking business. It's controversial, but it's what we do. No, I met you at Jeremy's show at Stims and Skins.
Good show.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeremy Croft.
What a guy.
Let's talk about Jeremy Croft, Artist of the Month.
He is Artist of the Month. Oh, we should say that. We're on location. This is something I do rarely anymore.
Transition.
We're rarely on location, but I'm at Nathan's studio. Is there a name for the studio?
Is there an applause button?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, man. We're live.
Oh, my God. I've always wanted to do that.
That was a long applause. It goes on.
They didn't want to stop. They were like, this is so good. Is there a name for the studio?
I haven't got one yet. I was brainstorming this morning. I don't know if I should air it.
It's top secret? Maybe. But you have ideas for names.
There's a handful. It might just be pull one out of a hat eventually, but once we open for business, it's gonna have to have a name.
Well, I don't want to blow up the location because I don't know. Are you officially open for business? Your studio is.
I haven't sold anything here.
Okay, so it's currently your residence and studio. It's amazing, and it's so incredible.
I think so too.
I'm looking around, and actually, speaking of Jeremy, he is the Artist of the Month here at the studio.
Beep.
Beep. Is there a beep button?
There should be. The censor button.
There should be. But we met there, and I was like, "Oh, you got to come on the show." And then it's taken this long.
Oh yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's wild being a fan of the show that whole time too. It's just every time I get to listen to it, it's a listening to friends. I mean, including you, just the rants that you have solo. It's listening to just like a comforting side of the best people around me.
Oh,
it's really great.
It's so nice.
And strangers.
And yeah, sometimes strangers. It's like I said though, I rarely have guests these days because I'm usually alone in my room recording. But it's cool to be out in the daylight.
Going. Keep it out. Yeah. Because we're all by ourselves, just listening to you. All of us.
But you've been in the new space. How long have you been?
It's cool to have listened to you here,
wow,
and then be experiencing the podcast here.
That is cool. I don't know that's ever. I'm sure maybe it had. Well,
This is the first time. This is the first.
Don't you take this premiere experience away. Yeah. Well, you have I think the first time I came in here, you were listening to some sort of radio show on these giant PA speakers.
It's usually just NPR flowing through here. And the NPR can shift into that just classical. So if you hit it the few hours, it's just classical music all day long. But a lot of times there's good segments throughout. It's hard to get regular scheduling of NPR around here.
Yeah, it is hard. I used to drive.
Off the web, of course.
Yeah, I used to drive to work. I worked at this really insane place in Aiken, South Carolina, while I was pregnant with Luca, and I could listen to NPR just during those certain hours, and then there would be the weirdest segments on when it's coming back at night. It was always indie bands, and I was like, "What is this?" And sometimes I wonder if it even happened because I was like,
"Oh, there's some good ones."
Was that real?
There's an ambient music one. What is it called?
Okay, so it did really happen.
Yeah, late at night, it shifts into just chill night music.
Yeah, it's like wild.
And there's a roots reggae.
Yeah.
As well.
Sometimes there was prog rock. I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm. There's a mix. It's a mix.
NPR. No, it's we have our own NPR.
No, it's nice to have just voices talking. I think it's good for us to be listening to podcasts and to expand our minds in such ways. I mean, it's.
I didn't even say at the top because I just assume everyone knows who you are, but there's a lot of people that don't live in Charleston that maybe not have heard who
no
you
one knows
are.
me.
No, they do. But it's just like unkind to not give an intro. Nate, you're an artist. Like how I would describe you as a creator because you do music, art.
Yeah.
Your art kind of morphs into things that are
It's
like
morphing, baby. It's
sculpture,
morphing.
weaving.
It's weaving as
There's
well.
literal weaving. There's sewing.
It's all the things.
There's quilting.
All the ings.
You're doing it all. But you're one of the most prolific artists, and I've said that before on the show because I'm looking around at the studio right now, and the audience can't see it, but there's shit everywhere.
They're here, but they're just like a lot lower than we are. They're like way down there.
They're way down there. We can't access their field of
They're
vision.
in the pit.
But there's so much work everywhere, and you're constantly creating new work, which I want to talk about that like more. But I also just am curious, like how you find the drive to be so prolific, because I think I find a lot of artists, and obviously I live with an artist, and I know of several artists. I like fancy myself some sort of version of an artist, and it's really hard to just continue to create that much. And so I'm like, what is the secret?
Oh,
What's
yeah,
the Nathan McClements
I'm so
secret?
hooked. I'm so hooked on it.
I love that.
No, I mean it's. I spent a lot of time focused on music. Let's back it up.
Yeah, let's give him the whole story.
I'm from Indiana originally, and my college years, I was a photo major starting out in photo journalism, and I got my camera stolen, so I was already doing the prereqs, and so I started making more art and learning the basics and whatnot, but always terrified of it all, intimidated. The process.
Of making art in general.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, I think it was all directed towards very specific things in school that didn't interest me at all. And there was some things gained from that education, but I wasn't pursuing it in a real way. And so I wasn't able to explore my potential within it, I guess. I've always wanted to do art. I've wanted to make art. But through college, I was making music as well, and that became more of my focus. And moving to Charleston 10 years ago, it was the pursuit of music that brought me here, and that I could make a living off of making music here in Charleston.
Had you been here before you moved here?
I visited my friend Michael Kuhn.
Well,
Taylor's
shout out.
Baby Papa. Is that it? Baby Papa?
Baby Papa. I think that's what they say.
I like it when you call me Baby Papa.
That's the lyric. Wait, so are you formally trained in music, or did you play music as a child, or did you like learn music?
I'm not trained in anything as far as proper training.
Okay, but you just like play.
But yeah,
your instrument is guitar.
I've been playing guitar and writing music for a long time, and I think in music I like to explore the landscapes of it. I like to explore instruments and being able to. Trumpet was my first instrument, so being able to explore just different sounds over top of
horn player,
trumpeter. Being able to explore different soundscapes over top of what I'm writing was like a huge interest of mine. Once I learned how to record, and the computer became a way to record.
Yeah,
it was a lot of progress within that. I was diving deep into songwriting, but it was very much to myself. And so when I moved here to Charleston, it became live performance, and it became meeting my drummer Mark Horn and playing a lot, way too much probably. It was a bit destructive for maybe both of us. But it was good. It was good for me to get out, and I made a lot of connections and had made progress, even if it was destructive at the same time. It can coexist.
Oh yeah. especially in music.
Especially in Charleston.
We were on Rip City on a boat a few days ago, and there's that place over there. I don't know if there Toucan Reef. There was like briefly this like really shitty place called Toucan Reef over by the aquarium. Like, and I looked at that, I was like, wait, that's where it was. But I remember being 18 and being in a band and being extremely self-destructive and just like being like, not really remembering playing on stage very much. But I also like. We're around the same age, and I got a Tascam thing, and I can remember like recording tons of shit in my parents' shower because the acoustics were really good, and just being like, these songs rule. And then when it came time to actually play them in front of people, I was like terrified and couldn't really do it. So I'd have to be like extremely like socially lubricated. I was just like, partying
for sure.
so hard.
And we do a lot. We do a lot of 3-hour sets here in town, and it's. The tricky thing in Charleston is, in order to make more money, to survive off of it and to progress financially, it just means playing more gigs. Like the gigs you play rarely give you more money over time.
Right. You can't like raise your rate. I mean, you could, but it's probably not going to work.
It's like, I need an extra $100 this week. I better pick up another gig.
Yeah.
And that means another 3 hours at a bar. And that means another bar tab to use up as well.
Yeah.
It's all a strange cycle. And I think a lot of people who see musicians are anticipating that anyway, are anticipating that destructive. It's like, those are the ones that can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, this guy's wild. He's a musician.
Right. It's an occupational hazard.
It's like, oh, he's a musician. It becomes the excuse of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's better ways of going about it. You can. It was never a praise and worship band for me. It was in the thick of it as much as I could. Is progressing and playing wherever I could, and keeping that energy alive.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that there's something so. Music is one of the art forms that I think is just very hard to get a hold of, and like it's hard to make a career out of it. I come from a family of people who are like in shocking like audio recording, or like were musicians that were trying to play like you almost have to do something else. And I honestly feel that about any art industry. Like there is a point where you're kind of doing both, and it's like, you know, the quote unquote like starving artist, like side hustle thing where you're trying to like make a living at it, but that people don't really want to pay for it. It's a weird, like it's sort of a wild pursuit, but
it's the silliest. It's tough. It's just really, really tough.
But you're really talented. I've heard some of I didn't realize you played music before. Somehow we lived in Charleston for a really long time and didn't cross paths, but
yeah.
I didn't know that you had a whole life playing music.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time out in Folly, and Folly Beach is just its own little world. And I don't think you and Jeremy have spent much time out that way.
No. Don't they call it the end of the earth? I'm like, I can't go there.
Edge of America.
Okay, whatever.
It's the end of the earth. The flat earth.
It's the end of this earth. The earth ends right here.
Where the sidewalk
the edge
earth ends.
Thank you. But when I did see, the first thing I saw you play was that you recorded a song after your show at Head High, which was a great show. I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
And you were able to record the video, like just the song itself was so. I was like, holy shit, this guy guy can sing and play music. I had no idea, so it was like a real out of. It just caught me off guard, and I was like, man, there's kind of so many elements of your creativity that I feel like I just kind of categorize you as like a painter because that's how I met you. But there's so much more to that, and I think opening this place and moving into this place that we're in now is unlocking a lot of that for you. So I'm curious, like how it's changed since you've gotten into the space, because it was a long road to get here. It was like kind of
yeah. I think it's so cool. Still having some hope for like past lives of mine, you know, it's like it's all about repurposing. For me, it's all about self education. How can I teach myself more? How can I grow more? It's by doing things. It's by creating things. It's by just challenging myself to improve, challenging myself to make something and to make more, and inspiring myself through that process. So it encompasses everything, and songwriting has improved because of my painting. You know, it's a cool thing to be in this space because I have areas to sew, and I have areas to record, and I have areas to sell vintage, and most of all, I have so much space to paint and create and be surrounded by it.
That's the coolest part. If you're like looking around right now, I'm like, there's stuff everywhere, from like things that you're working on now currently to things that I've seen before, or like things that I've never seen at all. And I'm like, you just are always.
Yeah.
It's like, it's oversimplifying it to say it this way, but art is truly just making something that wasn't there before. Uh-huh. And I think that is like the neatest thing. And I know for myself, like, I'm curious how you feel, but it's like, if I stop making something, even if it's just an episode of the show or writing or whatever it is that I'm doing, things start to go like way downhill for me. Like mentally, like my overall outlook of the world is darker. And then as soon as I find myself doing something creative, even if it's not like the thing that I'm like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever done, it just keeps me healthy in a way that I think it's important for all artists, but I think it's really important for all people. And most people just kind of ignore that part of themselves, you know, and they don't realize that that's probably something that's missing in their life. Yeah. Yeah. Not that everyone can be as talented. You're clearly very talented. I mean, not everybody can do what you do.
No, but it's allowing yourself to do it. It's a huge thing. In the past week, I've had a handful of people come and visit and hang out here. And it's just the start. It's all bare bones. It's all very rough. But I'm going to paint and create while people are here. That's what I want to do. That's how I want to be. I love being able to show it off. A lot of that to the Redux residency that I had last month. Being able to create around other people is such a good feeling.
Was that the first time you had that experience where there were like...
for sure. Yeah. First residency, first time creating around others. And I was using donations, all things that are coming in. So I was able to interact
I loved that.
With the people.
The coffin.
The donation coffin.
The donation coffin.
Yeah. Shout out to Redux. They are so thankful to be incorporated into that family. It's such a good space to be aware of for all of us in town. It's a good space to be a part of in any capacity.
But that was where you first kind of experienced like having people around and being like, "Oh, I'm still working. Thankful. Like this is it's like you're catching me at work."
It was just it was that energy that was created because it was just so contagious within me. I just wanted to do more. I just wanted to show more. If someone came the next day, I wanted to have something different to show them. It's so fun to be just flowing off of that. And like you said, it's all about just being so proud of something being done, something being made instead of the whole host of other shit we can do with our day. There's too many Netflix shows that I get distracted by, and too many naps that I can take, and too many other things that are just less feel good than creating something. It's so simple and it's so silly, but it means the world to me right now. It means it is my antidepressant. It is my salvation. Truly. It is my rebirth. It is all the things, because it feels, I say it all the time, it feels limitless. It feels like I could do so much with this start, with these roots.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I feel the same way, and I think that it's overwhelming to like think about getting something perfect or like being precious with work, and like I think that blocks a lot of people because we talk about this all the time at my house, but I'm like, it's almost like as soon as you have a pocket of time, like it's like people know, and then they start coming for your time, and you have to be really protective. It's like you don't even have to tell anyone. They don't have to see your shit on Instagram to know that like I have a free hour, and it's like all of a sudden somebody like shows up to tempt you with something to do other than the work. And it's really easy to just like
Oh, yeah.
give that to someone else or like, so I love that
there's
you
attractive temptations
Oh my God.
everywhere.
Especially
it's like, man,
here.
I want to do that.
Yeah. There's so many cool people doing so many cool things, but I'm like, I love that now that you have this space, it's like, you can come for my time, but I'm still going to be working. And it's like, you're kind of invited into it.
Hey, could you do that over here?
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could do that.
Can you move into your house over here?
In some ways, I'm like, that's kind of what we try to do, where I'm like, you can come like, just join, but you got to like, be protective of your time because there are so many options and there's so many cool things that are happening or just naps, those aren't really in my wheelhouse, but I know what you mean when you say that. And
I'm a napper.
Yeah. And listen, in
I can
another
nap
life
right now.
feeling
Don't
kind of
threaten
sleepy.
me. I'll nap through the rest of this.
Go right to sleep. No, it's a lot more challenging, I think, than people realize. Like, just that's why I say that it's so impressive, like the amount of work that you put out and like how much you're able to find new ways to like explore other elements with what you do.
It just means these things happen. It means opportunities like F&B radio present themselves, It means that I did a good thing at the residency. It means I can look back and see my progress at the residency. All of these things that's also part of like the limitless thing. It's I can create forever. I can create anything that comes to my mind, and that's really, really satisfying. But those creations and that development also present these really rad things that I want to do.
Yeah.
These things I want to be a part of anyway. I get to do that with the pleasure of just enjoying myself on the regular. It's I honestly feel like I'm getting away with something really, really great, and other people are capable of doing it too, regardless of their own self limitations on creating or growing.
What do you think changed where you were like, you got past the insecurity of like when you were talking about being in college and like just being afraid to, because I've read artist statements before where you've mentioned something similar, and it was like one day you just kind of decided, is it really just one day, or was there like a process of like, what did it look like? What made you flip that switch?
I mean, pandemic. It was all pandemic. The pandemic gets so much credit.
Shout out to COVID. Thank you for this hard
ruined
life.
Everything, created everything, shifted everything. No, change is such a fun thing. It's a cool thing. It's a dangerous thing. It's a scary thing. It's all of these things, but it is ultimately progress. It ultimately, depending on what you'd use it for, how you adjust from any kind of loss, any kind of just change is going to be your takeoff points.
Yeah.
It's going to be your, like I said, your roots. And my whole mind of being able to step away from gigging so heavy, it was a healthy thing for me. But I had to cycle that creativity elsewhere. And so jumping into these projects that I had put off for other reasons, these random materials that I had accumulated but didn't do anything with, became my canvases. And I was able to just paint on anything around me in a way that I never had before. An exploration of color, an exploration of texture, an exploration of all these things that I was so scared of jumping into for reasons of ruining a piece or reasons of intimidation of the whole process. It then became just making and not having to show it, not having to share it, just able to make anything on any material, take out bags and my vinyl records from my merch and any kind of scrap that I came about on the street. It was just a matter of let me practice, let me get stuff down. These paintings on recyclables became my sketch pad, became my my color theory explorations, and it's without any precision, without anybody saying like that's not right, that's not what you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. No, I see.
Or like you got a C on this one. It's like no one was seeing any of it, so I wasn't graded. I wasn't selling. I wasn't doing anything but creating for creation's sake, and it's the best.
And had you tried to paint like in a more traditional way, like on a canvas with like purchase material, like that kind of way before, and just didn't enjoy it? Or
Sure. I mean, I had it. I had canvases laying around that I had been dabbling on for years, like oil built up for like ever.
Yeah.
And the new me through that process was like, I need to work on this quick before I lose interest in it.
Yeah.
And so acrylics and oil pastels and chalks became these quick things. And if I work on 10 at a time, half of them are dry by the time I'm on the sixth one. You know, like it's just a process of drying fast colors and layering things and just exploring what those storylines build off of the textures and layers. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun, and then I started showing, and it became just. I was hooked. I was so hooked on it. Just that attention that it's progressed into a career in
That's
a
wild.
short period of time.
That always feels like cheating, like the system. It feels like I don't know.
Yeah, like
it
a
feels like
lottery.
you're like doing like a lottery, or like you just didn't even like you're like somehow like no one's noticing that I'm not living a regular life. Like they're just letting me get away with it. and it's a really fun, like exciting feeling. And your work, I feel like I don't know, your work just the way I think that's what draws people in about it is that it doesn't feel precious. And it does feel you can see that you have fun with your work. And I think as a person, when people are around you, you're very like positive, upbeat, like high vibe kind of person. And I think that is refreshing because a lot of people in art, sometimes people are tortured by art, you know?
What you mad about?
It's like
It's too pretty.
you can be tortured by art, and I think that's like
That color bothering you?
right, exactly. It's like it should feel
Change color.
fun, yeah. Or like even just like not everyone's personality might lend themselves to that way, but I think you've been able to drill down into something that's authentic to you. And I think that's why it works.
And it's never there's no. I hope there's no limitations in that. You know, it's like I'm painting this way. Things, the collection of my stuff looks like a single person made it all.
Mm-hmm. But there's so much like experimentation that happens with each of your pieces. I'm like, I think that is.
I try to grow. I try to learn.
You do. I see things changing, and it's. I don't know. I feel like artists are always the ones that I talk
better
to.
or worse.
Are always trying to like find their style, you know, or like be like, what is my signature thing? And I personally, I don't paint, I don't, create visual art, but I'm like, I think I think that's a mistake that people make where they're like obsessed about, that they need to come with something that's like so original, or they like try to think their way out of it. And you just really can't do that.
And I get
That's
caught up
frustrating.
in that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I think it's surrounding myself with other artists that I look up to and seeing styles that are totally different than mine, but still inspire so much out of me. Like Jeremy's work is very different from mine.
Yeah.
And not necessarily. I mean, his older stuff is I started looking through, and it's incredible. It's just incredible in a different way, in like his own explorations, and seeing that in him, but like his precision and his mind to get precise on specific things to him it's incredible. His compositions are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And it's better. And I always say to him, like, better you than me, man. That's too much detail. That's too much focus. That's too much time on a little
it's
brush.
Such a peek into his mind, though, because it's like, God, you know that that's what I mean. An authentic like expression of someone's like psyche. Like that's so much more interesting to me. It's not about whether the work is like you said, like an A+ or a C or this. It's like, is someone being honest with themselves about how they are and how when they express themselves creatively, what comes out, does it match what's ringing true to that person?
Yeah.
And when it does, that gets transferred into the work, and it's like what makes people feel something, because there is like I think it's really hard to create visual art or anything at all with the internet, because Instagram, like, you know, you just see something and it can be really overwhelming where you're like, oh, someone is doing a this thing or someone's doing a that thing, and it like gets really like there's almost too much noise coming in, and I'm like my focus, and I think the artists that do the best work are ones that are like really just kind of getting quiet with all that and just listening to themselves the most. And I think you do a really good job at that, because that's why your stuff looks really
Speaking of distractions, it's like, do we get distracted by this temptress over here? Instagram is there to distract you forever. As much as it helps you, it's able to just ruin you, or at least like bum your day out, or like whatever
stop you
it
from
is.
moving forward.
There's a lot of entanglements to these things that we spend so much time with, and we have to be hyper aware of like, wait, this is making me feel this way, so I need to cut it out. You know, like
anything.
I only show through Instagram, and that's a way for me to just simplify
What
everything.
do you mean? Like you only put your... What do you mean?
My artwork.
But you show in person too.
Oh yeah, of course.
But you mean like,
as far as like not having a website or anything, or slinging online.
Oh yeah.
It's only through Instagram that I'm dealing with that, and it's
a huge tool. It's an amazing tool.
It's a huge tool, and it's a way of like accountability, of just keeping things going.
Yes.
Daily posts if I can, and showing people this new event, this new concept, and sharing this space. And I know that that's appropriate for building up a business, but I'm also hyper aware of like, this makes me feel lousy at times. This thing is not what it's supposed to be doing. It's not constructive in the way that it needs to be. So step away from it, like create instead. Focus on the things that are progressing.
How many hours a day do you create?
Like 40.
40? You're really packing it in. You're really... Walk us through a day in your life.
I don't know. It's weird. This new painting, the cowgirl, camel, cardinal, cloud, Cosby sweater painting. Someone was over and they asked how long did it take me, and it's spread out through making a bunch of different pieces, so it's hard to say. And
right.
I think in its entirety, maybe like an hour or two, but it was like a minute here, 4 minutes here, 5 minutes. You know, it's hard to grasp any of it, but I'm usually always surrounded by random pieces of paper and cardboard or wood or fabric.
And you work multiple pieces at once all the time.
All the time. But this space is cool because it's still work in progress as a actual storefront, actual studio. So everything's changing around me. Yeah, in the sense that I can be painting, and then it's like, you know what, I'm gonna rip up the floor a little bit and see what's underneath, and then it's like, okay, I'm sore from doing that.
Now I'm a floor man. I'm a wood layer.
And then I'm gonna paint this wall instead, and it's just moving around. Or I'm spending like 4 hours a day searching for a lighter. It's so just varies. Like maybe that's the whole day. The whole day I'm searching for a lighter, and I'm creating a little bit on the search.
Amazing.
It's like, oh, I can paint before I find that lighter.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna rip up the floor before finding this lighter.
I love it. No, it's inspiring. I think you're inspiring to so many people and so many artists in town. But I also feel like we're at a really like sweet time. In the
Sweet spot,
Charleston,
you can say it.
Okay, a sweet spot in the Charleston scene where it's like suddenly it's like I don't know if it's post-pandemic, if it's like right whatever, or it's just the timing and that's how the universe is playing it. But I feel like there's so many sweet people being supportive and like so many people
sweetest.
going for a real career at this and being like burning the boats kind of and being like I'm not gonna do this other thing. I'm going to like try to make it work. And I feel like you do that so well. And you empower people to do that by them being like, no, Nathan's like, drawing a line and being like, I'm going to make this work.
Well, maybe that was music, it was like moving here, realizing I could get a career out of just playing live my songs that I was writing and creating.
Yeah.
I was able to play at a random bar in town and make money off of. And it was a really incredible thing. And with that lifestyle, it's like you're still working other side hustles, you're still surviving, doing the things all around wherever it comes. And so when I got to painting, it was like, wait, I don't have to load gear in every day and tear down and be at the bar until the gig's done at 1 a.m. Like it was like I retired. but the art was like the best retirement plan I could have picked. It was like that's the lottery that I won. It was like, wait, I can still create and be inspired over and over and over again by this new thing, an old thing, but that I'm reworking in a new way. It's just, and it's opened up my songwriting again. It's ignited that over again when it got drab.
I love that.
But I don't know what the question was.
I mean, I don't either, actually. I can't remember. But it was more just about, I think it was just a statement to you, just being like, I feel in a similar place where, and maybe this is just the time that we're all experiencing collectively, but that people are choosing, people in our circle anyway, I feel like in my life are choosing like the everyday like choice to live their life on their own terms. And that's kind of always my thing where I'm like, I'm not after wealth. I don't want to be broke because I've been broke my whole life, but I'm like, I'm not looking for status, but I am looking for living my life on my own terms. And I think when you have a bunch of people that are doing that in their own way, it can be a real center for cultivation for creativity, where it's like people start to be like, wait, I got my thing going, and they see others and it helps them keep going because it is really easy. And I think artists, like just to generalize, are very sensitive people who feel things they're kind of delicate people, which makes it hard for them to keep going, at times. But I'm like, you're one of those people that I think people look to be like, oh man, he's fucking going for it. Like he's still doing it and he's still like making huge strides. And I think that is like a beacon for people.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I do.
It's great.
I think it's so fun. So in the corner behind you, there's these random pieces from other people who have visited the studio the past week. Oh, wow. And like I said, I've been just painting around others and just enjoying that process. But there'll be a group of people hanging out here, handful of people hanging out as I'm painting, and most of the time, one person will be like hanging out for a while, real quiet, and then they'll get up and grab a piece of cardboard in the corner, and then grab a brush over there, and then start dabbing some paint on there, and seeing somebody else who isn't a painter, isn't an artist, and is able to get that access to that kind of freedom, it's like the most rewarding thing. Even to have that space to allow someone else to do that, and it's like, holy moly, it's so contagious, in that usually somebody will start painting, and then somebody else will come over and like give their critiques over their shoulder, and then they'll pick up a brush and start trying to do their thing, their idea, and it's all about just expressing that like there isn't a rule with this. There's no limitations in what you are trying for. You're not going to mess up anything, and I think jumping onto other people's ideas and rolling with it is really fun. So I'm excited to just see what other people are able to create in this space because of that energy, because of that, like, freaking magic that I'm experiencing.
It really, that's such a well said, because I think I think that is just super freeing. And it's cool that you, with your story and being like, I was really kind of locked down by these rules, and like being able to show that to other people and having a space to do that, and like doing the work that it takes to get the space to do that, because I know it was not like, it's just not been an easy, Charleston is an extremely expensive city to live in. Like, it's really hard. It's not like by any means it's easy to do this.
Well, I mean, Charleston is, let's make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
And until the whole place washes away. But,
exactly.
But as far as like warehouse spaces, it's very limiting. And as far as what you're capable of doing in those spaces is even more limiting. For the prices, it's absurd to be surviving on living and surviving on working. And it's all just a money game. But it's been so fun to be a part of this space here. Arthur, who runs Free House Brewing,
which it's right next
door.
Yeah, not to give away your spot. I keep just trying to tell everyone.
No, I mean he's supporting the arts in a big way, with just allowing me to come in here and explore what I can create and what other people can create in a very photogenic space and a very fun environment.
What do you have, like a clear vision, or are you just kind of taking it by step, or do you have like a goal for what you want it to be and feel like, and how people can experience it?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the things that I do in Charleston, all the things that I've loved in Charleston. We're playing music live, selling vintage at markets, experiencing people that way, selling art in out of the box scenarios, but creating events, creating a vibe, creating a space that is memorable to people and enjoyable and what people are after again and again. I want that, and I will get there. First, I want this space for me. I want this space to explore exactly like what I need to explore.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving myself a few months to do that. I'm giving myself a few months to just put things in place and I don't know, clean up its act a little bit, but allow myself just total freedom within that, and allowing the organic things to take care of sales and organic things to take care of who sees it and what brainstorms come out of that. And I think there's a lot that can happen here and that will happen here. It's just first and foremost just allowing me to be the max artist that I can be.
Yeah.
In my dreamiest studio space.
It's pretty dreamy. It's pretty fucking dreamy.
Oh man, I'm crazy. I'm crazy about it.
I mean, how could you not be if you haven't gotten the chance to check it out? I think
this would be a great Urban Outfitters, though, right?
Yeah, it would be really. You could really put an Urban Outfitters in here. I can see the dressing rooms. No, I can't wait to see how it changes, how it evolves. I love just being your friend and seeing the work that you do, and this has been a real, it's been a real fun evolution to witness. And I think that I'm just, if you're not already following Nathan, you should check him out. I just love everything you do. I love what you do for the community here and beyond, because I'm like, your paintings are making their way out into the world. They're making their way everywhere.
Hopefully more and more.
If you want to follow Nathan, it's NEM. Hold on, I know this. I can do this. Mcclements. It's just your first.
Nathan Edwin Mcclements.
Yeah, NE Mcclements.
Yep, NE Mcclements.
At NE. I'll put it in the show notes.
Please.
You know what? I'm going to put it in the show notes because then you can just click on it.
But also, I wanted to mention the Redux residency is available. The show in the back of Redux until May 20th.
Oh my God! Go see it.
And there's a show going on. City Paper Awards show is happening at Head High on the 10th, and they're putting together a show of alumni from Head High.
Oh wow!
So that's going to be a show covered.
And that's May.
The event is May 10th, It's ticketed.
That's in a few days.
It's ticketed.
Okay.
But I think they're gonna keep the show up for a short period.
Well, you should definitely go. If you're in Charleston, you should absolutely go to Redux and check out the show. There's some amazing pieces there from your time. What was that? That experience were there things that you were unexpected?
This is transitioning into episode
another
2.
I know. We're gonna have to cut it off. That experience was just such a wild thing, and that's, I don't know. There's so many artists that have studios in there, and then the Lightning residency is they pair 2 artists up in the back in this open studio, and you're just like working all the time.
Working all the time. Working all the time.
It's perfect for someone like you. It was like doing the most.
Yeah, and Caroline Herring was.
Oh my God, I love her.
Was
such a fan.
I was such a fan, and it was just speaking of like the organic flow of this whole growth. I was talking to her weeks before our residency started, not knowing that we were going to be paired up together.
I remember that,
and just knowing that we both had applied and wanted to get in, and it was like, that would be a great person to be a studio mate with, and it worked out, and she was spectacular to see her growth through the whole process and learning a new craft within her just tool arsenal is expanded because of that residency, as well as mine. It was really good.
I mean, you were weaving fire hoses.
Fire hose that goes.
That's my favorite piece. The fire hose is my favorite piece from that whole residency. But your work is so great, and I just think that for anybody out there that fancies themselves creative, or an artist that's struggling with how to keep going, there's just so much you can take out of Nathan's book, which is just to like, an object in motion stays in motion. Like, keep doing the work, and I think it just keeps getting better and better. And to not let that terrible inner voice kind of stop you from even trying, because I think it's amazing what's possible.
Yeah, 'cause what do they know?
They don't know anything, but they're loud.
They don't even know
They're
what's
so
going on.
chatty.
They don't know what's going on out here.
They don't.
They're inner.
Yeah, they're inside. Keep them quiet.
There. We haven't talked any food.
No,
F&B.
but I'm here to get my microplane. Last time I was here,
you got some parm left.
Look, the aged parm is on me. You can have the aged parm, but I came back and I was like, Jeremy,
it's more aged since you left it.
When we came over to see the place originally, I brought the boys and we brought a salad and a sandwich, and I was like, Jeremy stayed on a little longer after I left, and I was like, just bring my bowl and my microplane home. And he was like, yeah, I will. And then he came back, and if you know me, you know I use the microplane every fucking day.
Oh, man.
But it just gives me an excuse to come back and get it. So I'm going to take it before I leave. But that'll be the extent of the food talk on this edition of F&B Radio.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're the best. Dude, thank you for doing the show. Check Nathan out. Go see his work if you live in Charleston. And if not, I've had people hit me up in my Instagram that are like, I grabbed a piece of Nathan's art. So I know that your art's just making its way around.
Like, why are you telling me?
No, I love it. I'm so excited. I'm always like, dude.
Leave me alone, bro.
I'm like, fuck yeah. Get it. It's amazing. I'm going to try to snag that fire hose piece. I've got my eye on it. So,
we'll see.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening. You guys know what you can do. You can rate the show. You can review the show. I don't know why, but it helps. It helps people see it. And it's extraordinarily hard to do. But I do want to shout out to Leslie.
Did you get like single stars?
Never. I have one single star, but I know who it's from.
You got one?
I got one star review.
Oh man, I hope they're listening right now.
Oh, they are. They're the kind of person that like listens just to be like, I hate her. She follows me.
Their mouse is just shaking over the 1 star the whole podcast, waiting, anticipating the click.
They do. No, they're all 5-star reviews, except for that. It's really messing up my average, but I press on.
That's why I couldn't find you in the
that's right.
main Apple page.
That's why it's not on there.
We'll get you up there.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you the most.
Thank you the most. We'll see you next week. Bye. Bye.